Even just one of her talks, and let me I'd like to share with you just one sentence from Mrs. Kong's talk, from a talk she gave in February. Even though Father was looked down upon, people spat on him, cursed him, and persecuted him, he always thought about God's authority, God's position, and always followed God's law. That's what Mrs. Kong said about Father. Has Mother made even one statement like this? I've not seen it. I've not seen it. And then Reverend Yu, who's the lead lecturer of the OSDP content, who was chosen by Father, he gave a 3-day OSDP workshop last October, and he taught, quote, "True parents are only true parents when with true Father. Only true Father is the Messiah. When Mother speaks about being born without original sin, it is a lie. The only begotten daughter, as Mother describes it, does not exist." This is from the person that Father trusted to teach the entire unification movement about the deeper meaning of the divine principle. Let me talk about the True Parents brand. You know, we live in a consumer culture, and people using brands all the time. So what does the golden arch represent? What does that represent? I'm not saying whether you like it or think it's healthy. I'm just saying, what does it represent? Okay. Okay, the golden arches represents McDonald's, and you just know that if you go into the building that has the 2 golden arches, you can order a Big Mac. They do have some kind of salads. I don't know how great they are. Anyway, you know it's McDonald's, right? Okay, you basically know. You go anywhere in not just America, anywhere. You can go to Beijing, Tokyo. I mean, you can go all over the world, and basically you see those 2 golden arches, and you're looking for some American junk food, fast food. You know what you're going to get, okay? And the same is true about. What if you see a woman who looks like a mermaid on a green background? That represents Starbucks, right? And you know that if you go in there, you'll get some very expensive coffee, basically. Basically, right? So there are brands. And the truth is that true parents are also a brand. And we've seen pictures, in my case, for more than 4 decades. I've seen these beautiful pictures of Father and Mother together, smiling and happy together. And I always believed, I never doubted even, I mean, maybe I'm naive. I never, ever, ever, ever thought that there was any disagreement between Father and Mother. I never thought like that. I never did. I've always believed, I always thought that Father and Mother are like this, okay? Whatever Father's doing, Mother is on the same page, on the same wavelength. Is that what you believed? That's what I believed. That's what I believe. And so when we see the term true parents, that's what it's just like the 2 golden arches. We see the term true parents, and we immediately think, oh, that's what it means. Father and Mother, they're together, and they're completely united. That's what I thought. I didn't know anything about what was going on in Korea. No one told that, nobody reported about this. Maybe some of you knew. I knew nothing. But I think there's a point at which we have to understand that the original recipe has been changed. The recipe has been changed. And we can see clues, okay? The blessing rings in 2014 that had only mother's name in them. Okay, that's why is just mother's name in there? Okay, and then you see mother sitting on father's throne, her father's position, which she never did before. And then you see in the Hamnandang, you can see that the portrait of true parents were taken down, and mother's portrait as empress was put up in the place of father and mother. And you think, something's different. It's not the same. I know, people, this is like a mantra, it's almost like, I hate to be insulting, but it's almost like Pavlovian conditioning, okay? You've been conditioned, you see a certain term, and it arouses certain emotions in you, and there are some people who are not willing to deal with the emotional pain that is generated to realize that this might not be true. So, I've gotten a lot of angry emails from people, from brothers and sisters I've known for many, many decades. I have people who will not talk to me, who I loved and respected, because they don't want to deal with the pain that comes about when you realize that things are not what you thought. Things are not what you thought they were. So the truth is, this is the True Parents brand. This is the new True Parents brand from the Family Federation. It's the Messiah, the Lord's second advent, is being erased and X'd out, and it's just the Empress, the only begotten daughter, the sinless only begotten daughter. That is what the True Parents, it no longer refers for them to, it does not include really this man here, except for an airbrush version that they control, okay? An airbrush version. They don't want the real Samyang Moon to be able to speak for himself. They want to be able to control the words of the Messiah and use them and manipulate them for another purpose, okay? That is the painful truth. And I have to tell you, I communicate with different Family Federation leaders occasionally, the ones who still are willing to talk to me, and even some of the Family Federation scholars. And in private, a few of them have told me that they don't really believe what Mother's saying about being born sinless, but they're afraid. They're afraid because, maybe there were, I understand. We all have to live, and they think, how I support my family if I don't keep my mouth shut. I'm not here to judge people for what they do or don't do. But I do have some advice. If you really don't agree with this new theology that Mother is coming out with, at least don't be a cheerleader for it. Don't mislead people, because there are some people actually who are misleading people, and so to me that's my advice to them. All right, so I want to talk about the original obedience of Hak Jahan. Here's what Father said in 1981, this 21 years after the holy blessing to True Mother. He said, even under such circumstances, she still kept up with it all, and in the end, she became the True Mother, who's even greater than the Holy Mother Mary. The most admirable point about Mother was that she believed in me more than in her own father, grandfather, or elder brother. She believed in me 100%. Thus she overcame all the obstacles and established a firm position. Whatever happened, even if she should die, she had to keep an unchangeable attitude toward her husband. So, to me, the reason that we all love and respect Mother is because she went this course. I heard, fathers used to talk sometimes, many other women, sisters in the church received a revelation that they would be blessed to father and have that true mother position. Because, all sisters are meant to be the bride of Christ, right? So many sisters in the unification, they got the revelation that they were going to be blessed to father. And then when father chose Mother, they couldn't accept it, actually. They were angry, they were jealous, and who is this, teenager, who doesn't know anything? They're criticizing her and so on. And Mother had to walk that painful, lonely course of people spitting on her and disrespecting her and not believing her, and she could feel this. So Mother was victorious for many decades. I've had personal experiences with Mother too at East Garden, actually. My wife had 10 years of experiences. Mother gave her personal things that she wore. She gave them to my wife. So Mother has been a wonderful person. I have to say this. We're dealing with this painful reality, but, we have very mixed feelings. And I'm sure Hyunjinim had this more than any of us. This is his own mother. So, being the wife of the Messiah is the most blessed position, and it's also the most difficult. Okay? Believe me, people think, oh, I wish I were, if I could be married to Jesus. Wow, I'm sure many women maybe think like, the nuns actually, part of their becoming a nun is the promise of celibacy, and they are married to Jesus. That's what the nuns, that's what it means to be a nun, right? And now, with the Lord's second advent, people dream about this. But actually, the truth is that the Messiah is an intense person. Have you noticed that? Anyone notice that point? You want to know my secret nickname for father, which I probably shouldn't say. I know. My nickname for father is the blowtorch. Because the blowtorch is very strong, but if you get too close to it, it's also scary. Father is intense. Honestly speaking, you go to a speech of father, and he's speaking, he says, oh, I'm not going to speak for two, I have to go someplace. I'm only going to speak for 2 or 3 hours, which is far more than most pastors would do. But anyway, and then 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 hours later, father's still talking. And I'm thinking, I am less than half of the age of this man, and he's doing all the work, but I feel worn out. I feel worn out. And then I was thinking, okay, but this is just like 1 day a week. We were able to see Father usually on Sundays, right? So can you imagine not just 1 day a week, but 7 days a week living with this kind of person? And, Father's pushing himself 24/7, basically, which means that anybody around him is also being pushed. I used to have a lot of sympathy for leaders. I know that, many leaders made mistakes, but I'm just being honest. I personally felt a lot of sympathy for those leaders, because to be in connection with Christ is not easy, because he's leading a war against Satan. Okay, this is not for wimps, This is not for people. You're fighting a war against Satan. Okay, and to be around the general of the war is not easy. So I actually have a lot of sympathy for the leaders, and I have a lot of sympathy for Mother as well. It's the most difficult position of any woman in history. I believe Mother was in that position. And that's the truth. We should not forget that. And the second thing is, the Bible shows that Satan is ready to invade at any moment and at the last moment. The moment when you think the victory's been achieved, I used to struggle sometimes because Father would always be making these declarations of great cosmic victories. And from where I was looking, things didn't look so rosy sometimes. But Father would be declaring these victories. And then I understand now more why he was doing that. He was claiming a victory, or claiming territory. Like claiming God's territory. So I understand more now. But at the time, sometimes I didn't understand. And then the truth is, even when, we all know the story about Abraham, right? God told him to cut the heifer, the ram, and the dove. And the heifer and the ram, that's a lot of work, okay? It probably took him several hours to cut this huge beast in half. And there was just a little tiny dove, and he said, I'll do that in the morning. Miho sometimes, I promised to do something, but it's so late, I'm tired. I'm going to do that in the morning. So that's what Abraham, Satan was ready to invade at the last moment. And the unfortunate truth is, there was one final test that Mother had to do without Father's help.